Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibit the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, if you are a citizen of the internet, either you've had this clause thrown in your face, or you've thrown it in the face of somebody else. This often occurs in situations where one individual feels their opinion is being threatened because someone else is telling them that it's problematic. However, this takes the amendment out of context and attempts to repurpose it for something that it was not intended for. If you are a real constitutional conservative, you would actually care about what the document says. Individuals using freedom of speech as a scapegoat to vent their prejudice ideals misrepresent the exact grammar of this amendment. It clearly states that it is about government censorship of your voice. Congress shall make no law abridging your freedom of speech. Another person on the internet is not Congress. In fact, right now it's questionable if Congress even represents the people. When someone points out that a view is problematic on ethical or moral grounds, perhaps even scientific grounds, they do not have Congress whipped into a frenzy just because they are being critical of that. They have no outside help other than what research they have done in their life. That's it. There are no black helicopters or government agents of any sort going to somebody's house to take them away for spouting prejudice on the internet. These individuals feel that it's a personal attack. You are taking away their right to say something that has never been taboo for them. These individuals feel a sense of entitlement to whatever space they're in, including the internet, and they want to use the amendment from a single country out of the many that there are to shield themselves from criticism. Individuals are not born with prejudice. It's a byproduct of living in a society that allows for propaganda to persist and exist because there isn't any censorship. And it therefore allows individuals to get their hands on any kind of information that they wish to support the beliefs that they want to keep with them. Nobody is forcing you into a belief unless you are consuming the media from that individual. For example, I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh since I was a baby until I was about 22. So you can imagine the kinds of things that I would hear that would lead me into certain patterns of thought and behavior. That is something that is not because of how you were born, it's because you are consuming that and thinking that that is the correct way of going about and living your daily life. Yes, you are still making choices, but you're less aware of the choices that you are making because you don't have the tools in order to understand quite what is happening around you. It's like trying to find a black cat in a dark room without a light. Unfortunately, for individuals that would like to propagate those beliefs and keep them going, nobody has to buy into them. They can learn about ethics and morals, and they don't have to fall for what's being given to them. They can look deeper than the superficial picture and see what path they would like to take. However, without those tools, they don't exactly have a choice in the matter. I know for me, I was simply going with the flow because that's all I knew how to do. I didn't know any other paths because I didn't teach myself until recently. Therefore, an individual is well within their right to criticize your belief and shut it down so that others may know that that is not what society needs to look like, because it doesn't have to, and it's a bad society in the first place. It's not modern, it's not civilized, it's not any kind of civilization that the majority of human beings would like to live in. Therefore, we should have the right to choose if you believe in a democracy. There are, in fact, ways of putting limits on what we can and can't say, because that is what the founders wanted. They knew there would be certain problems that would arise that would need fine-tuning. They knew there had to be limits on fighting words or libel. It was known by these individuals that a society could decide for itself what was lewd, obscene, offensive, and unnecessary for the republic that they desired to have. These individuals were philosophers and scientists that knew that not every thought had merit in a discussion. However, they recognized the value in collaboration of ideals and the passage of knowledge, so they left it up to us to decide what that future would look like over time even. This was part of the reason for the Supreme Court. If individuals in a society no longer deemed a view necessary, and it had created legislation, then that could be challenged, and then further case law could be used for establishment of what our ethics look like on a national level. In the courts, it could be examined more closely and seen if something needed to be done, because that was creating some kind of friction within civil society. Through case law, we have also placed limits on speech that poses an imminent danger or suggests unlawful actions. If the speaker intends to incite such action, or it's likely that there will be a consequence because of the speaker's actions, then that can be punished by law. You see, even the government doesn't fully protect your right to say anything you want. Beliefs that have no evidence or relevant moral philosophy can be shut down and ignored. And they can also be limited through laws. It just so happens that modern society would like to celebrate human diversity and knowledge and push for something better than what we've had in the past. And all we're saying is, if you don't like it, you can take your ball and go home, but stay in your lane, in your little box, and don't come crying to us whenever we have something negative to say about it, because we really don't care, because this is what we see as the future, and it's a better one than what we've ever had before, and we're going to continue to make it better, regardless of if children don't want to sit at the table and have a decent civil conversation. There's no constitution of the internet, and throwing freedom of speech around in that arena is taking it way out of context, because most of the time the people you're conversing with might not even be from your country. You don't have to participate in any discussion with us. However, we will say what we want, because that is our honest opinion of what you believe, because we've actually examined the evidence and we don't want that. We're not interested in what you're offering. That's not censorship, that's doing exactly what the founders intended, as you are critically examining what you believe and you're attempting to progress, which is far and away removed from the traditionalist mindset. It recognizes that just because a human being has a thought doesn't mean that it's sacred in some way and should be touted throughout society. Playing the freedom of speech card isn't going to stop us from saying that we finally want to see human beings as they really are. Thank you for joining me, Witchlings. I appreciate your support and kindness. I'm so grateful for those of you that have contacted me and kept in touch with me. I really appreciate that. I am so thankful for your support. You have no idea. But I hope that you stay safe and know that you are incredible. Bye.